It's 2:23 p.m. on the afternoon of Thursday, the 24th of July, 2008. This is Mark Strassman, reporter with Etopia News. That's found at www.etopianews.com. I'm in Santa Monica, California, about to talk to Paul Scott, founder and board member of Plug-in America. Welcome to Etopia News.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Your organization has put together a list of 8 important reasons why plug-in vehicles, which include both all-electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids, are an important step towards sustainability. Could you work with me to go through that list, and we're gonna take each of those 8 points in turn. Sure. The first one says the near-term goal of true zero-emission driving can only be achieved with electricity into batteries. Talk about that.
Sure. Near-term goal is the key phrase there, because we don't have time to wait to switch over to some pie-in-the-sky technology that may or may not work down the road. So batteries are viable now. I've been driving a battery car for almost 6 years, and I know many people have been driving them for up to 10 years on batteries that absolutely work. So we know that they're working today.
Talk a little bit about the evolution of the batteries from lead acid to nickel hydride to lithium ion, and where things are in the evolution of those as deployed systems, and where research is now in terms of batteries.
Okay, well, lead acid batteries have been around for well over 100 years. They're very viable, they work really well. There's some toxicity issues that definitely can be dealt with through recycling and containment, and they're cheap. But their drawbacks are that they're very heavy for the amount of energy that they carry, and they also don't last very long. But they do work. The next battery that came into being was the nickel metal hydride. I mean, there are several other chemistries that have been tried, but the nickel metal hydride battery turned out to be a really good battery for cars. It had much less weight than the lead acid battery for the amount of energy it contained, and it lasted a really long time. I'm still driving a car that's got 61,000 miles on it, and it's 5.5 years old. And the battery is just like brand new. It hasn't started deteriorating at all. And some of the cars that are using this technology are well over 100,000 miles. Now, some of those are starting to reach the end of life. So we've got one that's over 150,000 miles, and it's pretty much toast at this point. So, but that's a long time for a battery in a car. The newer battery technologies are what we find in our laptops and cell phones, and that's the lithium ion. There are some 27 varieties of lithium-ion batteries, and many of them are proving to be long-lived, have a high cycle life, which means they can be charged and discharged many, many times, thousands of times. And the shelf life, that's the key point that we don't know, because they haven't been around long enough to know how long they will last. But as long as they're good for at least 5 to 7 years, and we're pretty sure that's the case, then they're viable. So it really, anything above that is excess and obviously appreciated, but not necessary.
Are we going to expect? Can we expect a qualitative breakthrough to a different technology, or is the cutting edge right now the refinement of lithium-ion batteries?
Well, the cutting edge right now is the refinement of lithium. That's correct. But there is a technology out there that we're very hopeful is real. We don't know. It's called an ultracapacitor.
Right.
And a company named eStor, E-E-S-T-O-R, out of Austin, Texas, has claimed that their ultracapacitor will hold a lot of energy.
And charge fast.
Well, they charge fast as you can pump energy into them. So you could drive cross-country 300 miles, charge in 5 minutes, and keep going. The cycle life is in the millions, so the car will never ever, the battery or the ultracapacitor will never wear out. The cost is very low, and it's very lightweight. So
sounds like the Holy Grail.
It's a total Holy Grail. It would render all batteries obsolete and internal combustion obsolete overnight.
And where is it in the cycle of?
Well, they're claiming they're going to come out.
Hype and disappointment.
They're claiming they're going to come out this year with it in production runs, not R&D anymore. It's up to production. But until we see it, we cannot claim it's true.
I certainly tried and failed to get them to talk to me. So.
Yeah, they don't talk to anybody yet.
Right. The second point in your list is true well-to-wheels zero-emission driving can only be achieved near-term with renewably generated electricity.
This is correct, yes. Anytime that you use energy, there are consequences to that. Generally, there's pollution generated. Certainly with petroleum fuels and any carbon-based fuel, you have a lot of pollution associated with that. But electricity is unique in that it can be made from renewable, clean sources such as wind, solar, geothermal. and depending on how you define renewable, hydropower as well. So if you get your electricity from those sources, they're non-carbon based, there's no pollution associated with it.
And they're domestically generated in almost all cases.
Absolutely, right. Yeah. Other than we get a little bit of electricity from Mexico, a little bit from Canada,
right.
But the vast majority of it.
But the wind and the sun are indigenous to the United States.
Absolutely, yes. So when you get your energy to drive your car from a renewable source like that, there is zero pollution well to wheels.
Say a little bit about what we've just hinted at about the energy security component of electric cars and why they're superior to gas-powered cars from the national security, energy security point of view.
When you go to a gas station and buy gasoline, 65 to 70% of your money leaves the country. And a fairly significant portion of that goes to our enemies, essentially. When you buy gasoline, some of the money makes its way back to Saudi Arabia, and they fund the madrasas, which essentially are fighting us. So you're buying the bombs and bullets that are killing our soldiers. And when you buy electricity, obviously all your money stays domestic, so none of that makes its way over to our enemies.
So this has geopolitical, makes geopolitical sense, but also economic sense in terms of balance of payments and purely economic questions.
Yeah.
The third point says, of all the alternative transportation fuels, only electricity is infrastructure ready.
Yes, the infrastructure is already here. Everywhere you go, there's a plug, an outlet, and currently there are several companies in development on charging technologies that will utilize these plugs that are all over the place and put in new ones and be able to charge you for the electricity in a parking garage or a parking meter, so that when you go to the downtown to the theater, you park your car at a meter and plug it in, and you go do your business, you come back 2 or 3 or 4 hours later and unplug it, and it debits your account for the energy you just bought.
In that context, talk about Project Better Place and Shay Agassi's plans.
Shay Agassi has an interesting concept of building electric cars for Israel, Denmark, Hawaii, all these places where long-range vehicles are totally unnecessary. And his project differs somewhat in that he wants to replace the batteries, swap the batteries out instead of charging them.
Right. And what does that make sense to you? Or?
Well, yes and no. I mean, the problem with it is you've got to get all these battery makers and car makers to standardize the batteries, and that's going to be a big problem right there.
Whereas the plugs are already standardized.
Yeah. And there are already fast chargers out there that will charge up a car in 10 minutes. They've been in use for over 10 years now. And so that technology is already there. You just need to deploy that technology instead of, and make the batteries so that they can be fast charged, because not all batteries can, but there are some that are able to be fast charged.
And as you said, this systems are already being developed to do the billing and the coordination and essentially charge the electricity to your account.
Yes.
Okay. Cost per mile will always be cheaper with electricity. That's cheaper than what, and why is that?
Certainly cheaper than any carbon-based fuels, as long as, especially if you internalize all the external costs to carbon-based fuel. Right now at $4.50 a gallon, nobody's paying anything for the war in Iraq, which clearly has something to do with oil, and nobody's paying anything for the health effects and environmental costs burning oil in internal combustion engines. And if you were to internalize those costs, gasoline would be well over $10 a gallon.
And we haven't mentioned the long-term costs of climate change.
Yes, I mean those are all costs that are very real. Can't quantify them exactly, but you should put something in the price of a gallon of gas to attribute.
So you're saying again the real price of gas, apart from the subsidies that it has because of regulatory frameworks, is $10 a gallon.
Some people have said it's way over that.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Point 5 is electricity generation and distribution is already publicly regulated. What's the importance of that?
Well, I think people need electricity to live in this day and age, and as we've seen in the past, utilities and oil companies and things like that will absolutely charge as much as they can get away with. So in order to keep people alive who don't have a lot of money, I think that it's important that we maintain some sort of public involvement in the price of these crucial energies.
And that's something that doesn't happen with the price of gasoline, obviously.
No, obviously.
Okay. Thanks for, we have some more points and we'll talk about that in the next segment. So thanks for talking again to Utopia News today.
You're very welcome.